one of the things about happiness is that what we get wrong is there's a big myth, and I would say we could probably fill in the blank, is that I will be happy when fill it in. I'll be happy when I get promoted. I'll be happy when I finally lose this last 10 pounds. I'll be happy when the house is clean for 5 minutes, right?
Right.
And the challenge is when we tie our happiness to a thing,
Right.
either that thing, what happens when that thing doesn't come, then what? Or when it comes, like, then you still don't feel super happy.
Welcome to Lead Like a Girl, where we are empowering everyday women through our stories. I'm your host, Jessica Smith, and I began this journey by sharing my life story. Now, I've joined forces with my longtime friends, Jamie and Coralyn, to keep this party going. We met many years ago as young sales girls in our 20s, driven and quickly rising to the top of our industry. As the years went on, life happened, and we all found ourselves in new companies and completely different industries, still striving for success in it all. Career, family, faith, fun. Now, it wasn't easy, but we never stopped moving. Get ready for our real conversations, inspiring stories, and our big life lessons as we share it all. The good, the bad, and the funny. Welcome to Lead Like a Girl.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Lead Like a Girl. This is Coralyn signing on with my two best friends, Jamie and Jessica. You're welcome for that title. I will never not call you my best friends ever.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, that's a good segue. Yeah, so if you've been with us for the past few episodes, we have been talking a lot about what it looks like to slow down, how to live an unhurried life, how to add more silence and simplicity into our life, because a lot of things build up stress. Last episode, we talked about how to manage our stress levels. And our guest, if you haven't listened to that one, go back one episode. It was fantastic. Just how really good tips and motivation on how we can be unstressed and actually be advocates for our own personal joy. So I want to go a little bit deeper into this. And guys, what I want to talk about today is, it seems simple, but I think we're going to dive into a really good conversation. We're talking about happiness. So we're going to talk.
We should have played that happy song. That's what I think of.
Oh. Who sings that song again? I forget. I can think it in my head.
Justin Timberlake? I don't know. Is that
try again? It's a black dude, not a white dude.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh. Well, Justin Timberlake is black, by the way. In case you didn't.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah.
Pharrell.
Yes,
No,
yes.
Sorry, Pharrell. Just in case he's listening.
Just in case he's tuning in. This episode.
Yeah, so we're going to just talk about a little bit of the science behind happiness, why we sometimes self-sabotage our own happiness, and really start to creating a happiness if we're not there yet on purpose. So to kick off this conversation, I have a really easy question for you ladies. Are you happy?
I got a really good answer.
Uh-huh.
No.
I bet you do.
Not at the moment, but I have a path. Was that supposed to be a yes or no question?
Well, it was kind of, are you happy? And tell us about why or why not, I guess.
Well, I'll go.
High level.
Yeah, high level. And I mean, those of you, I've kind of told a little bit of my story. I'm in a transitional period right now. So it's never fun when you're in, most of the time, right? When you're in transitional. So laid off of my job, looking for a new job. So much going on. Adult kids are in their transitional space too, and you feel responsible and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot going on. So I think for me, it's just kind of going through the pain of the transitional period. And that's never fun. Therefore, I mean, I don't know anybody who's happy through that. So that's, kind of my thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
What does happy mean?
That's a good question. Well, you said yes, so you tell me.
I don't know. I feel like happiness and gratitude are like hand in hand. There are people that are unhappy in a situation, but then there's someone who could be in the same situation and be absolutely happy because they're grateful that they have, someone can say, oh, I don't like where I live, but the next person down the road could be like, I have a place to live, or whatever it is. So I just felt like gratitude. I felt like those go hand in hand. So I think like when I say yes, I'm happy, I think it's just because I'm very grateful for like the people in my life and the things and, you know, the opportunities I have and, you know, the people who care about me and the people I care about. So
See,
yeah.
I view that as being positive, right? And I think that could be a positive spin, but then I would follow up if someone just rattled off, I'm so happy. I'm so grateful for this, but are you happy? I don't know. I don't know. I look at it as different. You can be grateful, and that's just staying positive through your unhappiness. But does that really mean you're truly happy? Back to your question. When I think back to my happiest moments, yes, I'm grateful, but it's usually doesn't mean everything has to be great, but it's usually when things are kind of steady, where you're like, okay, I'm in a good place in my relationship. I'm in a good place in this. And right now I'm really, really happy.
Yeah, I feel like it's a
Just-
bit of like satisfied with your life. You
yeah.
know, you're emotionally, you feel well.
Yeah.
Like maybe you feel fulfilled in, you know, certain aspects of your life. I could think those were the things I was thinking about. This is what
Yeah.
happiness means.
This is good because I think that that's how you define happiness kind of determines what your answer is to that question, right? I think,
Right.
Jessica, your answer was a little bit more tied to success,
Situation.
performance, situation. Jamie's, yours is a little bit more of a state of mind and just looking. I think a little bit has to do when you ask general people too. It's like, are you naturally a glass half full or a glass half empty person? And I don't think either one of you are glass half empty, but I think that there's a little bit of a difference. My spouse is a glass half empty person for sure.
What?
For sure.
Really? I would never
What?
have guessed that. Oh my
Yes.
gosh, I would never have guessed that.
Yeah.
I don't get
And
that vibe at
I think
all.
that's just, yeah.
And so we talk about a lot, like, how can we say that more positively? I think he thinks I'm so annoying also. When I'm like, can we rephrase that and put a positive spin on that? Yeah. So I think one of the things about happiness is that what we get wrong is there's a big myth, and I would say we could probably fill in the blank, is that I will be happy when fill it in. I'll be happy when I get promoted. I'll be happy when I finally lose this last 10 pounds. I'll be happy when the house is clean for 5 minutes, right?
Right.
And I think that the challenge is in when we tie our happiness to a thing,
Right.
either that thing, what happens when that thing doesn't come, then what? Or when it comes, like, then you still don't feel super happy.
Yeah.
You guys feel the same way?
Yeah. No, I think I get what you're saying. I don't know that I don't tie it to anything. I just, I have goals, and there's things that I work towards or I aspire to, but I don't know that I necessarily think of it as I'll be happy then, because I've had all the things and then I haven't actually been happy. But what I know and what I've learned in my older age is that no one or nothing is responsible for my happiness outside of me. It's internal. And that's kind of where it starts for me, not necessarily situational, even though those things do impact, it really is what's inside of me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. When you brought this up before, I was thinking about like success and happiness, right? So like you kind of alluded to, do you have to achieve this certain amount of success to be happy, or are you happy and then you achieve that amount of success, or which comes first? And like, can you be successful if you're not happy, or can you be happy if you're not successful? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like how we like equate those two things together.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting thing is, so this is a long time ago. This is actually back when I still worked at the company. We had a speaker at one of our conventions, and his name was Sean Acor, and he wrote a book actually called The Happiness Advantage. And I remember reading it a long time ago, and it was really one of those breakthrough books that I hadn't really experienced. Like yeah, of course, like I'm happy, like it's good. But then he dove into this kind of the science underneath whether or not, like, why people are or not happy. And this is things that he says is that happiness shouldn't be the reward for success, it's the fuel. So when people say, when they kind of tie that, like, I'll be happy when, it's just, it's tied to whatever that thing is. But if you decide that you're happy first, that'll help bring you the success, the gratitude, the things that you're looking for.
Yeah.
The other thing I thought was really interesting is that he said in this book, he says, when you're happy first, you're actually, research shows that your brain actually performs better. You are 31% more productive, 3 times more creative. And really at the bottom line is you make better decisions from a happy, joyful state versus any of those others. Do you guys feel like that? Is that how that shows up in your life too?
Absolutely. And I'm going to, for me, during this time, and, I can say, obviously I'm not happy because it's a painful process. Um, but I know that I have to stay positive. And the reason why I have to stay positive is because I think, kind of to your point, you kind of, um, you put that energy out there, and I think those are the results that you get. So that's kind of how I view what you're saying. It has to start with that, because things could get really bad for me in my mind if I have a really negative attitude about what I'm going through. I have to know that this is an opportunity for me to get to that next level, and without going through this pain and this process, I can't get there. So
Mhm.
I think it's kind of like what you're saying, is that I put out that energy, it's positive, and that's what I'm going to get back.
Yeah, I was looking up a few things. There was a study that I looked at a little bit, and it said happier people are more energetic, they're resilient, they're sociable, they're optimistic. Happiness boosts creativity, it boosts problem solving and productivity. But when I was thinking about it, because I was talking about people in their relation, how they're essentially like their relationships are better, but I also went down that wormhole of like, okay, what if you're in the people in your life aren't happy, and then you feel like either that's affecting you and your happiness, and or like you feel like now you have to make them happy. Like I just don't think
Yeah.
like you just said, Jessica, it's like it comes from yourself. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like, what if the person in your life just simply isn't happy? And
Yeah.
what do you do then?
Yeah.
How
And
do
I
you
literally
can't make
just
them
had this
happy.
conversation. I just had this conversation with someone, and going back to what I said, everyone's happiness, I'm sorry, I am not here to make my husband happy. Like, that is his responsibility, and he's not here to make me happy. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't do nice things for each other, and but as far
Mhm.
as someone's true happiness, that is your responsibility. And I had a friend of mine that was kind of sharing with me that that's what she was going through with her husband. And I said, I'm telling you that the moment that you stop taking responsibility for his happiness and focus on yourself, you're going to lead by example. That's what's going to
Mhm.
just automatically happen. And what one of two things, he's going to find his own happiness, or he's going to want to get the hell away from you because you're just too happy for him. And it's just uncomfortable.
He's the annoying correlate.
Oh my
So that's
goodness.
my take. What you can't be responsible, and I learned that the hard way, and I still have struggles with it too. But you're not responsible, and you can't make other people happy. That is their inner. They have to figure that shit out for themselves. That starts within.
The problem though I see though is with even what Sean Acor said in that book, but so if we can choose happiness, if we can just decide I'm going to be a happy person, why don't we? Why is this a struggle for some and not for all? I think
Because
that
it's tough.
yeah, yes.
That's what it's tough, and it's work, and you have to be intentional.
Mhm.
And you have to work at it every single day. And life is hard, and people don't want to work on it. That's what I think. Why don't we? So the question is how? How do you do it?
I think when I am unhappy or when I get frustrated, I think maybe that's a little bit of an interchangeable word for me.
Mm-hmm.
I find that I have unrealistic expectations, or I have expectations that I haven't communicated clearly,
Yep.
that's where I feel like I'm unhappy, is that I think we're heading this way and everybody else that I'm working with is headed that way. And I'm like, why is it so hard for you to get on my bus?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't maybe tell them where the bus stop was.
Right. Yeah.
Like, or
Yeah.
where we're headed, or whether, in that, so I think that's probably where internally I kind of self-sabotage my own happiness a little bit, because I have some unrealistic expectations. Like, this is how I want our weekend to go, husband. And I'm expecting that you're going to want to do yard work because our yard looks like crap. And you want to sit here and help our house look nice. And he has his own agenda, but
Yeah.
he's assuming that, hey, we're going to get this done and then we'll do play second. And he's like, well, let's play first and we can see if we've got time for that landscape. And that's where we kind of butt heads a little bit,
Yeah. 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 No, I think that's good. You just reminded me of a whole marriage class that we took, Coralyn. So that's a whole nother show. But I think as I'm sitting here talking about, like, where do we start? In my mind, I think that it starts with a mindset. Everything starts right here. And again, it's an individual thing. I need to work on my mindset. You need to work on yours, because what I learned is that nobody listens to anything you say. So my strategy in these days is I'm just going to do me and hope that I lead by example, and you see and you want some of this, so then you follow suit. That's the only thing I could do, because telling people what they need to do, they never listen. So I think step 1, and you guys tell me, is that you have to start with a mindset that you've decided that you are going to be happy, and that you are willing to do whatever it takes and be intentional and put in the work because you want to be happy. Life is too short. I don't want to live, even if I'm lucky and live to be 100, I don't want to live a miserable life. I got to change my mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you talk about putting in the work. It's like you kind of have to deal with the frustration, right? Or like you have to deal with some of the stuff that doesn't really make you happy first. Get over that.
Yep.
That whole being intentional, subject of just like, okay, if I'm going to be happy, I got to take care of this thing, that's not making me happy, or I've got to take care of this other thing that's making me frustrated, or I have to like fix this relationship because that's not making me happy. So I got to do all these things to really work at it, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's healthy. So it's a healthy happiness, and not just some sort of fake mindset where you're just like, you know what, I'm gonna just be happy today. Well, if you're just faking it, like I don't know that that's very healthy. You got to do it the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think about the difference between like being naturally happy and then being like medicated happy because of, maybe a mental health thing?
Wow, that's a whole nother show. Yeah, that's that. I mean, what I think about, I'm going to answer your question. I don't want to get too much into it. I don't know what you mean by medically happy,
It's probably
but
not the right term. I'm just
okay.
trying to figure out how to say, like, when you're on, like say antidepressants, or you're on something because you've got like maybe some mental health stuff, and that's kind of like helping your mood, helping regulate your mood or whatever.
I'm not completely, so I've been in that situation many of times, and I've chose not to go that route. That's just me. I'm never going to judge someone for doing what's right for them, but I think that it is, you got to be careful. And I also think that it's a temporary thing, that people should really look at it as, there are some times that maybe you do, need a little help, and but it needs to be temporary. And you got to put in the work, because sometimes what happens is you get too wrapped up in that and you're using that as a crutch, and then it's something that you need forever, and it is a distraction from the work that has to be.
Yeah, I'm not a psychologist or a doctor or any of the sort.
Yeah.
But in my experience, I know people that are on antidepressants, but they're not seeing a therapist. And I mean, it's the medication. It'll help short term, I believe, but in the long run, you have to get to the inner feeling of why are you unhappy, and that probably requires talking to somebody, and like you said, doing the work, writing it down, really get into like what is the source of your unhappiness, before you start relying on medication to put a Band-Aid on what's happening.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
and you have to like give yourself a little grace too, because there's going to be times in your life when it's a roller coaster. Like we've all talked about things going on in our lives in the last handful of years where it's like, this isn't my whole life, but this is a part of my life right now. So I got to deal
Yeah.
with this, right? So
Yeah.
that's a whole other part of it, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's not your whole life, the extent of your whole life, but there are parts of your times in your life where it's harder to be happy.
Right. And I never want to put, and again, this is me not suggesting, I'm like Coralyn, I'm not a therapist or a doctor, and I'm not suggesting that these things are not real. But for me, I'm never going to put a label on, I suffer from depression, I suffer from anxiety, because I feel like when you do that, you come in agreement with these things. And sometimes, it I don't want to come in agreement. Life is, I believe that everyone, if you are human and you live life, you are going to have some moments that are shitty moments, and you are going to experience the feelings of depression. You are going to experience the feeling of anxiety. But I'm not going to, again, I'm not going to hang on to that thing. I'm not going to, when I see it coming or I feel it coming, I know what I need to do to work on it. But it's going to come. It's inevitable. It's called life. Everyone experiences it. But when I think about mindset, Jamie, you mentioned gratitude. To me, that's kind of those steps of, now I got the right mindset. And the next thing I want to do is really put this thing in perspective. Yeah, I don't have a job, but you know what? I have an amazing husband. I have amazing kids. I got a severance package when a lot of people don't even get that. I've built relationships. I mean, all those things kind of help you really put things in perspective. And that's that next level to making sure that your mindset is in the right place so that you can start doing the work. And then the next thing I would say for me is making sure that you have the right people. You have the right people that you can lean on, whether they're friends or whether they're family, someone outside of your spouse. I know people that are like, "Oh, my spouse is my best friend." There's nothing wrong with that, but I believe that you have to have a community of people to really, really be happy. I didn't think that was the case many years ago. And now that I do have more of a community, I realize that it has a lot to do with me being able to really be happy, that's part of it as well.
Your whole conversation, Jess, it just reminds me of just wanting to give myself and give all of us grace, right? I think the challenge with women specifically, leaders in general, is that we're all chasing perfection and we're all chasing to be the best, the most efficient. And when you constantly are trying to be 100% all the time, every day, that you're never going to be happy, because you're chasing perfection when it's never going to show up.
Yeah.
And I think that you have to make space for mistakes, like you said, make space for the hard stuff. It's going to come. We're not perfect people, and there's a reframe in our brain that we have to look for the progress piece of it. What are the steps I can take now? What are the little things I can do now to get to better, not get to perfect?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And here's another thing I think that at least helped me when I think about my journey to happiness is pursuing your sense of purpose. I think
Yeah.
that for some people is just like something that they don't even entertain. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't know that you can truly find happiness until you really have a sense of purpose, because that's part of
Yeah.
your true happiness. So, if someone's struggling with really, if, because there's tons of people that can say, I've never in my life been truly happy. I don't even know what that looks like. I don't even know how to get there. Um, I think that's another area, is to really figure out what your sense of purpose is, because the closer you get to that, or at least identifying that, I think that's where you start getting closer to true happiness as well. What are your thoughts on that?
That's so hard to figure out. So I just think of like when you were starting out in life, like as a young adult, and you're, with maybe you're in college, maybe you're not, you're your first job, you're trying to figure out, okay, what kind of person am I? Like, what do I want in life? Like, do I want to be a spouse? Do I want to is it all about work for me? Is it about health? Whatever it is. I just feel like that takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like you have to think about that. And I don't think people do.
But it's so important. I mean, we've talked about this a lot, but it's, Jessica, your theory of starting with the end in mind on a project. I mean, starting with the end in mind in life. And we talked about this maybe episode 20, 21, 22, something like that. But thinking of what somebody might say at your funeral or might say in your eulogy, that's a good start, because it doesn't have to be tied to a job or a project or something that you accomplish. But in your character, how did you show up? What did you do that was significant on this world for you and the people in your circle? And that would
And I love having this conversation with young people. I was sitting at the pool with Rosemary today, and there was these two girls. It started off with just two of them, and then another girl came, and then next thing you know, it was like five of them, and they had to be 16, 17 years old. And I'm just sitting there looking at them, and I'm like, man, I would give anything to go back and know what I know now.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I was this close to I just wanted to go over and have a conversation with them just to be curious. And Rosemary was like, you know what? You sit your ass down.
Remember, we're relaxing. We're relaxing.
But I love having this conversation with young people, because it's exactly what I ask them, Coralyn, and that is, what do you want to be known for in life? And I say, I know that that's like seems so far away, but what do you want your children and your grandchildren to say about you? And, start there, and then start planning your life, whatever it is that you want to be. And maybe that's not you now, but you know that there's something in you that wants to be that. That's where you have to surround yourself in those places with those people and all the things that are going to get you there. And I love it when I'm having that conversation and they're just like, wow, that's like anything. And it's like, yes, anything. You can do anything you want to do. And so I think that's my answer to everything. Start with the end in mind.
And be okay with that can change, because you could talk about what's important for you now.
Yep.
What I would say as a 20-year-old person is different than I would say as a 30-year-old person, and definitely as a 40-year-old person. And who's in my life? Did I have kids? Did I not? Am I married? And all those things change, and giving yourself permission to be able to upgrade and update who you are and who you want to be. That it's
gotta be flexible.
Yeah. Yep.
No, I love that.
Having just went through my mom's funeral, not long ago, this just hits so home to me so much because of, like you just said, like the things that you hear other people say. I mean, people were laughing because she was just a really funny person. You know what I mean? And then I'm thinking back to my stepdad's funeral, people just came, all these people that he had helped over 20, 30 years came out to help. And it's like, man, and both of those kind of gave me that sort of that lesson of the end in mind of like, what would I want them to, how do I want them to feel about me? Like, whether it's, I don't have to die, but you know what I mean? Like, how do I make people feel? Like, how do I, how can I help? How do I come across? What's the first thing that pops into your head when you think, who's Jamie,
Yeah. And wouldn't you say that these two people were genuinely happy people?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
not always, but yeah.
but overall, and I think, the closer you get to your purpose and really understanding, what you love to do, like you said, I love to help people, whatever that is. I think that is a big part of happiness. Also, I'll add just embracing life's challenges and understanding is just part of the journey. I think that also allows people, because, we talk about gratitude and you have to put it in perspective. And sometimes people allow the shitty things that has happened to them to, dictate their happiness. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, that's not your story. It's just part of the process. It's part of the
Yeah.
journey. You have to accept that there are going to be challenges. There are going to be setbacks. It's part of life. That's it. So again, it's putting things in perspective. It's how you think about that. And then the next thing I'll say is, and you guys know I love this. You have to be willing to put in the work to make habits around your life. The healthy habits that is going to have a major impact on your happiness. If you are not willing to build healthy habits around your life, you are causing the chaos that causes the unhappiness. And this is totally controllable. So you have to know whether you believe it or not. Yes, some shitty things have happened to me over my life, but I am in control of my own happiness. And part of that is why I've built healthy habits. I get up. The first thing I do when I open my eyes is talk to God. I do not pick up my phone. I do not talk to my husband. I talk to God. Now, that may not be your healthy habit, but that has a lot to do with my happiness and my state of mind and my positivity because I've built that habit around my life. And I think that's just a big part. You got to figure out what those healthy habits are for you, and you have to create the habits and stick to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That I love that you brought the subject of this not being like, this is just one thing in your life. It's not your whole life. We just had a message at church where they said, this isn't your whole story. This is one page in your story,
Yeah.
and that makes so much sense. It's just like, yeah, this thing isn't my whole story. This is a page in my story though. Like, let's handle it. Maybe change a habit.
Yeah.
And
Make it healthy
I
instead.
think also with that, that's a great analogy because even if you're on your highest high, this is also just one page in your story.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if something happens where you're like, oh man, I thought everything was so great, and now this happened. Well, we're continuing to turn the page through life and keep moving in both the really highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and they're not going to stay there.
Yeah.
We have to keep pressing forward.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So, guys, this has been a great conversation. So now can I ask you, Jessica, all these different things, are you happy?
Listen, I'm gonna stay with I'm happy. I'm just not in the best of my high. But when I think of all of the years that I have lived and everything that I have been through, this is not the worst. So I'm glad we talked through this because yes, I am happy. Am I going through a shitty time? Absolutely.
Mhm.
But I wanna add the most important thing to me when it comes to happiness, and that is setting goals. This has really given me an opportunity. This I had a 10-year plan, and I'm actually only in my 8th year. And I thought about this yesterday. I'm at the end of my 10-year plan on my 8th year, and I didn't even realize it. So always setting goals. You mentioned this, Coralyn. You have to be flexible. Those goals are going to adjust. And I had to do some adjusting,
Mhm.
but you have to know that setting goals are directly correlated with happiness. And if you are not someone if you're not setting goals, if you are not writing them down, if you are not giving yourself a deadline, if you are not having people in your life to hold you accountable, you are missing out on the opportunity to reach happiness sooner.
Hmm.
That's to me, that's a fact. And if you're looking for answers, I hope that some of these things gave you a perspective to try some of them if you have not, if you are looking for happiness.
Jamie, any last words?
I remember there was a meme I saw one time that was basically like, money doesn't make you happy, and then like the answer was like, money would solve all of my problems and that would make me happy. And I was just like laugh at it because it's just funny, but I think my biggest takeaway really is something else isn't going to make you happy. You make yourself happy. You know, it's the habits, it's the thought process. Maybe it's the positivity. Maybe it is writing down what you're grateful for every day. Maybe it's setting your goals. Maybe it's figuring out what is my purpose. But I feel like having, remembering that you're in charge of that.
Absolutely.
No one else is going to go out of their way just to make you, well, maybe they will, but they're not truthfully supposed to.
Depends
right?
on who your circle is.
I guess. I do like to give gifts. But you know what I mean? It's just like, it's up to you.
Yeah.
You're making yourself happy. That's what, and you have to focus on it. And
Uh-huh.
that was probably a big, that kept reoccurring in my brain as we were all talking through this. So
yeah. Own it.
Awesome. Yep. We're happy people. All right, closing up here. Let's just remember, like, we don't have to chase happiness. We can build it. We can do it ourselves, and we can create our own happiness. So this week, I'm going to challenge our listeners to choose one practice. You write down your wins, write down what you're grateful for, call a friend, recognize, just take a deep breath, and just remember that we're aiming for progress, not perfection.
Yes.
And I think too, like, just realizing we are all doing way better than we think. We are constantly comparing ourselves to the next best thing, whatever it is in front of us, but we are doing very
that's a whole episode right there, Coralyn. The comparison thing. Like, we need to write that down. That's a whole nother episode. But I just want to add one more thing, because I know I already have my last word, but please, please, please don't give up. I also talk to some people that are just like, you know what? Just screw it. I'm just here living. I've given up on being happy. Like, there are people that really feel that way. Please, please, please do not give up, because that just makes me really, really angry when I hear that. Do not give up. Keep fighting. Keep going. Happiness is there. And if you feel, once upon a time, I felt like I just had so many shitty years. But guess what? After that, they started the good years. It has to catch up. It's the law of it has to catch up with you. You got to just keep going. So if you've had a lot of shitty years, that means you got a lot of good years left. So don't give up.
Well, thanks for being with us today. If this episode gave you some motivation, a little laughter, maybe some perspective on what happiness really looks like in your life, I hope that you would share this episode, share it with your circle, share it with the people that need to be a little bit more happier and have a little bit more perspective. And if you haven't already, make sure you check out our previous episodes on rest and silence and solitude, and the one we just had on stress. Those are fantastic episodes and really the foundation to what we're talking about here today. But with that, we're going to end. I'm going to encourage everyone to keep leading like a girl, leading with joy and happiness. Until next week, we'll talk to you then.